Breaking news here on a Saturday afternoon to any of you guys joining. Thanks for hopping into this chat. I don't know if you saw, but Tennessee picked up a huge commitment on this Saturday afternoon. David Sanders Jr. out of Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, announced his commitment to Tennessee. He is a five-star offensive tackle, the number one rated offensive lineman, or offensive tackle, I should say specifically, on 247 Sports, ESPN, and Rivals, the number two rated offensive lineman on 3. He's unanimously considered the number one rated player in the state of North Carolina, no matter where you look. And he is as high as the number 3 overall prospect, period, and as low as only the number 6 overall prospect, which is on 3. Simply put, he is a highly touted recruit across the board. And I don't know if you guys see my headline, but I'm not lying to you when I say what I said there. This is, I kid you not, the biggest commitment for Tennessee football since Eric Berry, if you go by the numbers. No, I'm not. I'm dead serious on that. I'm dead serious. This is the biggest pickup for Tennessee football since Eric Berry, and I say that for a specific reason. David Sanders is the only unanimous five-star in the Josh Heupel era, believe it or not. Nico Iamaleava brings the most hype, but believe it or not, Nico Iamaleava wasn't a unanimous five-star. I believe he was a four-star on 3, which does have tougher ratings than a lot of the other schools. So his profile, I'm pulling it up right now just to be confirmed. It was ESPN, ESPN named Nico Iamaleava a four-star. Take that with a grain of salt. ESPN is the absolute worst of the recruiting services, but he wasn't unanimous. David Sanders was a unanimous five-star across the board. The only other unanimous five-star that Tennessee has landed across the board in this era with 4 separate recruiting services is Darnell Wright. Now, On 3 wasn't around when Darnell Wright was recruited, but they did do retroactive rankings of that time. And long story short, Darnell Wright was a unanimous five-star. However, Wright was the number 25 prospect nationally on 247, number 5 on ESPN, and number 16 on Rivals, and no higher than the number 2 rated offensive tackle and the number 3 rated on 247 Sports and ESPN. The point being, Darnell Wright was nowhere near as highly rated individually in rankings as David Sanders. It's very clear David Sanders was a more highly touted prospect. Those are the only 2 unanimous five-stars that Tennessee has landed in the post-Philip Fulmer era. The last unanimous five-star before that, yes, that's right, the guy I named, Eric Berry. What do Eric Berry and Darnell Wright have? Both are the only top 10 picks in the NFL draft since the end of the Philip Fulmer era too. That's who David Sanders is in company with. That's who David Sanders Jr. is in company with. A huge offensive line pickup. A gigantic one, no pun intended, coming out of Providence Day School. Again, five-star across the board. Stands at roughly 6'6", 290 now. This wasn't unexpected, but Tennessee got him over Georgia, Ohio State, and Nebraska. Think about these schools for a minute. Let's just go through them individually. Now, you may laugh at Nebraska, but the fact of the matter is Nebraska has a history of offensive line. It was offensive line in the Tom Osborne days. Matt Rule's bringing an analytical approach to try to bring that back. You would think there might be a little bit of intrigue there. Georgia and Ohio State are blue bloods. Ohio State is a fixture in the college football playoff race at the very least. And Georgia has won 2 of the last 3 national titles. Both have won at least one the last decade. Tennessee beat out those 2 schools too. That's huge. Here's what this says. 1, it's time to stop all the myths. It's time to dispel all the myths of Josh Heupel in recruiting. That's over. Not only can he can recruit players you wouldn't think he'd land. The idea was even if he can recruit, he's only going to land quarterbacks or receivers for his system. He's landing offensive linemen, guys. Josh Heupel is picking up offensive linemen in this system. And this isn't the first time either. He got Douglas Utu earlier in the recruiting process. This is his 3rd of the year. He's loading up on offensive line, and that was a position people said Josh Heupel wouldn't be able to pick up on. Now, I think player development helps. I think having a guy like Darnell Wright is a really, really big deal. Having seen him gone number 10 in the NFL draft, that's one of the huge benefits of recruiting a guy like David Sanders. But still, by and large, a lot of other schools have players like that. It's crazy to think that Tennessee could land this type of guy given what they've done the last 3 years, which has been good, but still haven't made a college football playoff. And given what's the belief of Josh Heupel's system, Josh Heupel has always insisted that he runs a program based on the trenches and that he focuses on the trenches. And many people didn't pay attention to him saying that. He finally proved it here. This is a gigantic, huge pickup for the Vols. I can't stress that enough. We're going to obviously talk more about this Monday. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Tell a friend. Turn your notifications on. We're obviously building something great here at Off the Hook Sports, and it's only getting more exciting as the season is a week away from today, is week 0. The start of the season for the rest of the teams is 2 weeks from today. College football is right around the corner, and a big commitment for Tennessee football and David Sanders Jr. in the process. Now, is David Sanders Jr. going to start immediately? Guys, John Campbell Jr. may be gone after this year, and Tennessee could have an opening at tackle. Tennessee hasn't had many linemen emerge the way they've wanted to in Josh Heupel's system of players that committed to Josh Heupel specifically who weren't transfers. Next year, there's a lot of questions in that position. It is a huge pickup because he could be an immediate impact player. And if you think that's crazy, I just compared him to Darnell Wright and Eric Berry. Both of those guys started as freshmen. Both of them. Don't think that David Sanders Jr. can't do the same thing. George McIntyre reportedly was one who recruited him heavily. By the way, George McIntyre went all in on trying to get David Sanders Jr. And if he doesn't start in 2025, he definitely will in 2026 with McIntyre. McIntyre probably wanted Sanders blocking for him. I'm just here to say this is a gigantic pickup because of that. Sanders, if you look at his highlight reel, he's very quick. He maintains blocks well, too, though. He's very athletic. You want to say that's the perfect fit for Josh Heupel's system, but the truth of the matter is he's a perfect fit for everybody's system. There's nobody whose system David Sanders is not a great fit for. So with that in mind, I got to say that you can't really undersell how big of a pickup this is for Tennessee. I mean, David Sanders, I got to be honest, I think he could be an All-American for Tennessee by his second year starting if he has the right work ethic. I mean, Eric Berry was one as a sophomore. It took Darnell Wright till his senior year because Wright, the flip didn't fully switch, but he was a reliable starter before then. But those are the two names to compare him to, Darnell Wright and Eric Berry. That is who David Sanders is in a class with this pickup. I want to talk a little bit about what this means for Tennessee recruiting in the Carolinas. Tennessee just landed him out of North Carolina, a very key fertile recruiting ground for the Vols, obviously. They went into the Charlotte area. Guys, the Carolinas is going to be huge for Tennessee in the not-so-distant future. I think Clemson is in trouble as a program. Dabo Swinney is ready to bail on them. He's upset with the lack of respect he's getting. We know about Dabo Swinney. More importantly, I want to bring up South Carolina. Shane Beamer probably will get fired in a year. North Carolina, I think, has reached a really stale moment under Mack Brown, and I think we're not talking a lot about that. I think Mack Brown has got it. He's as good as they're going to do, but he's in his 70s. It's really hard for them to sell North Carolina. So what are you going to do? Fight with Duke or NC State? That's not going to happen. That's another reason this David Sanders commitment is such a big deal for Tennessee, is it helps reestablish their pipeline into the Carolina. So let's talk about what Josh Heupel did. He got Tennessee football's biggest commit since Eric Berry. He went and reestablished a pipeline into the Carolinas in the process. He beat out Ohio State and Georgia for this commit, and he did it while being known for running a high-profile, high-flying, tempo-based offense that shouldn't seem friendly to offensive linemen. Guys, that's incredible. That's incredible. You can't speak enough about Josh Heupel scoring this win on the recruiting trail. I think David Sanders is, this is one of those type of superstars you get that you're talking about him immediately before he even sets foot on campus. He's as big of a pickup as Nico Iamaleava. Actually, maybe even bigger. Josh Heupel could have found another quarterback. You can't always find another offensive lineman like this. It's huge. It's incredible. We're going to have a lot more to talk about as the week goes on, but I really just wanted to sit and chat with you guys for a minute about David Sanders. As far as the press conference goes, that was a great press conference. I got to give him a lot of credit. Thinking his family, very emotional, clearly very connected to his family, to the school. He's clearly just a good guy, a grounded guy, down-home guy, another type of player you want on your team. So this seems like a character guy, which is a big deal. So, I got to be honest, this is a very, very, very big pickup in a lot of ways. Elias, irony is dead. Hundreds of middle-aged managers calling the guy weak for thinking his mom and dad. Yeah, I saw some of that on the live stream. It was a little weird, but can't always judge commenters. It was a big pickup. Russia Cat, is that what Rustastic? Sorry, my eyes are a little messed up right now. Said ESPN will drop him to a 3-star. No, they won't. They just have a totally different rating system, and it's really, really weird. Meat Drinker Ohio State fans claiming Sanders was theirs. I think they were throwing some NIL money late, but it ended up not working. Ryan Vickery, amazing commitment speech. Love it. Yep. General Nealon Cruton back in the Carolinas. Get used to ATL in December. I mean, you're right. That's what I was talking about. Recruiting in the Carolinas is huge. TN Jr., I wasn't crying. You were crying. LOL. Yeah, I think a lot of people were emotional with that commitment. Guys, please tune in with us on Mondays again at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have a lot more to talk about with this commitment because it was such a big deal. Tennessee had the number 8 ranked recruiting class on 247 Sports Composite before Sanders committed. Now it's going to be a top 5 class. This is their 2020. This is their 22nd commitment of 2022. And again, their first unanimous 5-star in the Hypo era, and also their first 5-star in the 247 Sports Composite recruiting rankings. So really, really big deal. Tennessee scores a splash for 2025. They score a splash for the Hypo era. They score a splash for the era of the program in general. We don't like to say generational too much, but I just named Darnell Wright and Eric Berry. David Sanders is in that class. I'm going to break a lot more of that down when Dave and I are back on the show Monday. Thank you guys all for tuning in. One last time, hit that like and subscribe button. Again, David Sanders Jr., the most highly rated commit since Eric Berry, commits to Tennessee over Georgia and Ohio State and Nebraska. Dave and I will have a lot more on this Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. For Caleb Calhoun, this has been a special live presentation of Off the Hook Sports. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend.